Hello and welcome to my probate series. My name is Buitron and I am a certified probate and trust specialist realtor who can help clients navigate the probate process. Now, losing a loved one is never an easy thing. The legalities and complexities that come with settling their estates can be already a difficult thing. And the time of this is always overwhelming. It happens so quick, but yet takes so long. That's why in this series, we'll be covering everything you need to know about probate and how to sell the deceased property during this process. In this video, we'll start with the basics. What is probate, how it starts, and who pays for it. We'll also discuss the important role of the personal representative to the probate process and some other things to consider when you're taking this role as a responsibility. At the end, I'll share a few things on how you can improve avoiding probate in the future. So whether you're already one of these responsibilities, one of these roles, if you're an executor, the beneficiary, or loved one for estates, the series will provide that additional knowledge and guidance to help you navigate this process, have a better understanding of what is going on in probate with confidence, right? So let's dive in. Let's start by defining what probate is. Probate is a legal process that takes place after someone passes away, and it involves the court overseeing the distribution of the deceased person's assets and paying off any outstanding debts to the taxes that are involved. Here is an easy way to remember. Probate is to prove the will of the deceased. Even if there is no will, or if there's multiple wills, the court will need to make a decision on what is the intent of the person who died, the deceased. So during this probate legal process, a court will determine whether the deceased person had a valid will. If there was a valid will, the court would appoint somebody, they're going to be called the executor, to be responsible for managing the estate's affairs. The executor must gather all of the deceased person's assets, determine the value of them, and notify any potential beneficiaries. Once the assets have been gathered and valued, the executor must use them to pay off any outstanding debts or taxes owed by the estate. If there is not enough assets to cover these debts, the executor may need to sell some estate assets to pay them off. Okay, so all the debt and taxes have been paid at this point, right? The remaining assets can be distributed to the beneficiaries according to the instructions in the will, or according to the state law's intensity. Now, if there is no will, this process can take several months or even years to complete. Even with a will, it will. But depending on the complexity of the estate, it's important to note that not all assets go through probate. Some assets that are held in a trust or have been named to a beneficiary, such as a life insurance policy. We also got retirement accounts and other type of policies typically do not go through the probate process and can be distributed to the beneficiaries. So now let's go over how the probate process starts. Now, the probate process starts with filing the petition to probate. This is a legal document that initiates the probate process and is usually filed by an executor named in the will, or interested parties such as a family member can do it as well. The petition to probate must be filed with the court in the county where the deceased person lived at the time of death. It must include the original will, if there is one, along with other required documents such as a certificate of death, an inventory of the deceased person's assets as well. Once this person has filed, the court will review and schedule a hearing. So this will be the notice of hearing, which must be given to all interested parties, such as the heirs, the creditors, and potential claimants, as we'll discuss later on. It's important to note that the probate process is complicated, and I highly recommend that you seek some assistance from either a qualified attorney that could help you navigate through it, or somebody that has professional experience. Um, in this case, let's talk about the attorney. They can help you navigate through the petition to probate, gather necessary documents, and guide you through the court proceedings. Before probate, it's important to resolve any potential disputes and claimants that may have a stake into the estate. This includes addressing challenges that will be outstanding debts or other legal issues that may arise. Failure to address these issues could delay the probate process and even result in costly legal battles. Once a petition to probate is approved, the court will appoint a personal representative, also known as what we discussed, the executor or administrator. This person is responsible for managing the deceased's assets during the probate process. It is important to note that the person who filed the petition is not always the personal representative. In fact, the court may appoint someone else who is going to be the personal representative, especially if there are disputes over who shall be in charge. The personal representative can either be an executor or an administrator. An executor is someone who has been named in the decease of the will, the person who managed their estate. An administrator, on the other hand, is appointed by the court and is not named in the will, if there was one. Now, executors are unable to and unwilling to serve. That's another way an administrator could be there. So they have the exact same role and duties, but different names on how they got there. Right. So it's crucial to understand these roles of the personal representative in the probate process, as they are responsible for a variety of tasks, including locating and valuing the deceased assets, paying off any debts owed by the estate, and distributing the remaining assets to the beneficiaries. Failure to comply and understanding the entire role of this personal representative can result in delays and even legal issues, which can prolong the probate process and increase the entire cost. In addition, it is important to note that the personal representative has the fiduciary duty to act in the interest of the estate and its beneficiaries. This means that they cannot just simply avoid any conflicts. They have to go through them, and they cannot do anything in their best interest. It has to be the interest of the deceased. Failing to do so can result in legal actions against the personal representative, which can result in removal of the authority over the estate. Therefore, it is crucial for anybody involved in the probate process to have a clear understanding of the personal representative's role and responsibilities. This can help ensure that the probate process goes smoothly and that the deceased wishes can be carried to their intent. So, after all of this, who is going to pay for probate? Well, actually, the fees of the petition on probate and other related fees are usually paid by the person who is initially filing the petition, which is typically going to be the executor or the administrator of the estate. But in some cases, the deceased person will and may specify someone who is responsible for paying these fees in their will. Now, if the will is silent in this matter, then it will usually be paid out by the assets in the estate. So it's important to note that the fees of probate can vary depending on the jurisdiction and the size of the estate. It's a good idea to consult with a local attorney or probate specialist to get a better understanding of the specific fees and requirements in your area. As for paying for professional services, these rates will vary sometimes. Attorneys, realtors, and other professionals, and even personal representatives can get paid by the courts with strict guidelines on how much they could get paid from the funds of the deceased once their tasks are fully completed. So realtors typically get paid around once the home sells, because that's when their tasks completed, and attorneys and other professionals typically get paid at the end once their task is fully completed. There are also special loan programs that can help you for any necessary expenses like recurring mortgages and insurance payments, or of the deceased, or any other expenses they may have, cars or whatever it may be, and insurances. This is one thing I need to remind you is that once a person dies, please get with their home insurance and change it. Let them know that there has been someone who has passed away. This will save you in case something does happen to the property. They need to know that. I suggest reaching out to a professional like myself to help you find out what other services are required or recommended in your case. Now, probate is an expensive process, but it's an important one to make sure that the will of the deceased has been fully executed and done to what they intended. But the probate process can be avoided and not always necessary. So here are some ways that you could actually avoid probate before passing, right? So let's want to go over in detail on another video because there's a lot to unpack. So let's just begin with just a short summary of what they can be like. So having a type of trust can avoid probate as long as it's built properly and fully funded. That's one way. Naming beneficiaries on accounts like bank accounts, retirement accounts, life insurance, etc. Another way is going to be if you hold property in joint tenancy and there is a surviving spouse. Also, you could have community property with right to survivorship. That's going to be another way you could hold title, and if there's a surviving spouse, then they could have that. In small estates procedures where the dollar amount isn't high enough, and that will depend on your state, then you can avoid paying possibly. And finally, transfer on death deeds. Some states allow you to use a transfer of death deed to pass real estate directly to your beneficiaries without going through the probate process. There's also, one more, revocable transfer of death. That's another way. Whether you're already familiar with the probate process or are just starting to learn, it's important to have a good understanding of what the entire thing entails. This series is going to aim to provide you with that. It's going to give you comprehensive knowledge and guidance of the probate process, including how to sell the real estate during this process. I hope with the help of these videos, you'll be able to navigate the complexities of the probate process with confidence and ensure that your loved one's estate is managed properly. Join us on our next video. I plan to discuss the probate timeline in detail. If there are any specific questions, please reach out to me or put them down below. I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this, found it useful, and are going to watch the next videos. Bye.